Hi and welcome back to Movies Explained. Today we will be recapping a movie called Don John. So without further ado, let's begin. The opening scenes paint a picture of a man who indulges in pleasuring himself by watching naked pictures of women and pornography. The man is John Martello, a bartender from New Jersey only devoted to a few things in his life, which includes his body, apartment, car, family, church, friends, girls, and porn. His friends Bobby and Danny call him Don for his varied interests. One night John meets his friends at a party when they start rating women. Another woman dressed in a silver sequin dress comes up to John and asks why he never called her back. He responds by insinuating that she is a grown woman who is well aware of John's nature and flings. The woman tells him that he's pathetic and leaves. John goes back to his friends when they spot a blonde girl in a red dress at a distance. They talk about her in an objectifying manner when John decides to make a move on her. He goes up to her and they end up dancing and kissing each other. John tells her that he wants to sleep with her, but she says no, and stomps out of the bar to her car. John follows her out, but she rejects him and leaves. John goes back inside the bar to single out his new target, which is another woman. They end up kissing and he takes her home to be intimate with her. At night, while she's asleep, John pulls away and goes to the living room to watch porn. He thinks about how the real thing is unsatisfying to him and can't match the satisfaction watching porn gives him. In the morning, John is seen in a road rage while driving his car and cursing other drivers. He goes to church and meets his family there. Once the prayer is over, he goes to confess that he has had sexual relations twice this week, has watched pornographic videos and pleasured himself to ask for forgiveness of his sins. It is evident that he is addicted to pornography and the cycle continues. Later at his parents' house, John and his father break into an argument over a game that's playing on the television. His sister Monica is unbothered by the whole exchange and his mother is busy serving lunch. They are having when his mother remarks that one day John will find the perfect woman and John groans in annoyance at the absurdity of her statement. At night, John carries on with his nighttime routine of pleasuring himself when he realizes that he needs something to change and maybe find something meaningful and consistent. At John's, Bobby and Danny poke fun at John for being turned down by the girl in the red dress. John decides that he needs to find her but realizes her doesn't even know her name. He goes back to the bar to inquire and eventually figures out that her name is Barbara Sugarman. He and his friend end up stalking her on Facebook. John ends up texting Barbara to meet up for lunch at a local restaurant. Barbara greets him, kisses his cheek, and sits down. After the pleasantries, Barbara asks him how he found her on social media and he lies to her saying she told him her name. She catches him lying and tells him that she never told him her last name. He admits that he asked around about her to contact her. She questions his real motives and tells him to be honest with her if he wants to be happy. Later, she takes him to watch the movies while John has his mind elsewhere and is not interested since he believes them to be a fabricated fantasy to lure the audience in. On Sunday at the church, he confesses that this past week he didn't have any sexual relations but only kissed a girl and is still watching pornography to pleasure himself. Later at lunch with his family, he watches the television where a provocative advertisement is playing and he can't look the other way. One night when he is kissing Barbara and wants to be more intimate with her, she refuses, telling him that she doesn't know him much and would like to meet his friends and family to take her relationship to the next level. While having dinner with their friends and Barbara, John makes a toast for their 1-month anniversary and announces that she is still the most beautiful thing in his life. His friends watch the exchange incredulously but comment nothing. Barbara's friends ask her about John's profession and during the conversation, she mentions that they haven't been intimate with each other yet. While having lunch with his parents one afternoon, John announces that he is seeing someone and his mother is delighted, but John's father is critical and harsh towards the revelation. Eventually, they end up asking him to introduce Barbara to them. John meets Barbara's family and Barbara gets John to join an evening course to further his education. John is at his university getting off a phone call when at the stairs, he sees a crying woman and says sorry while passing. Later at night, Barbara comes over to John's place and they end up making love. Unsatisfied, John gets up to go watch porn as Barbara sleeps soundly in his bed. Midway through this endeavor, Barbara walks in on him and is disgusted. He tells her that he was just going through his email and that some friend of his sent it as a joke to him. She emphasizes her disgust and he assures her that he doesn't normally watch it and promises to never watch it again. John is unable to free himself of his addiction and keeps watching porn to pleasure himself secretly. A week later, the woman who was crying by the stairs comes up to John in class while he is watching porn on his phone. She introduces herself as Esther and apologizes for sobbing and for putting him in an uncomfortable position. She takes the seat next to him and tells him that she hasn't had a public breakdown in a while, and she does cry, but it is always in private, and thanks him for not making the situation worse. She proceeds to further ask him if he was watching porn, and he acts defensive, but she reassures him that she doesn't judge him and apologizes for the intrusion. Later, John takes Barbara to his home for dinner, and his mother becomes delighted to meet her. His father commends John for finding her. During dinner, John's father narrates to Barbara how he met the love of his life and how he thought that she was going to be only his. As they leave, it is evident that John's parents love Barbara. On Sunday afternoon, John invites Barbara to church service with his family and in private confesses that he has had sexual relations, but he has stopped watching pornography. One night after class, John is sitting outside his campus when Esther comes up to him to sit next to him. She gives him a bag as a present and he tries to decline, but she insists on him having it. He opens it to find a porn CD on it. Esther explains to him that it's from the 70s, and not what he might be used to looking at, but it's really good. John tells her that he has a girlfriend, and she retorts by saying that giving him the CD doesn't mean she is hitting on him and that she gave it to him since he can do better than watching porn on his phone. She questions him as to why he watches porn if he has a girlfriend, and he gets offended and leaves, but he doesn't return it to her. At John's place, his friends ask him if he will join them later at night, and he refuses to let them know that he will wait for Barbara to call and have dinner with her. His friends mock him, but he tells them that he loves her and she is the right woman for him. Barbara and John meet up for dinner and they talk about his career in the service industry. While eating his dinner, pornographic clips flash through John's mind, which makes it hard to focus on what Barbara is saying to him. John and Barbara are shopping to get a few things for her apartment when he tells her that he needs to go and buy cleaning products. Barbara is shocked at the revelation that John does his cleaning and offers her housekeeper to clean John's place. John argues that he likes cleaning his place and he needs to vacuum his carpet a certain way. Barbara shuts him up by telling him not to talk about vacuuming in front of her ever again since it's not attractive to her. She also tells him that when they live together he will not be doing any cleaning around the house. After one class at the campus, Esther tracks John down and asks him if she can copy his notes since she fell asleep in the class. John gives her his notes to copy when she asks him why she picked this class to make conversation. She points out how someone else chose this class for him. John gets annoyed by her and leaves. When he gets back home, Barbara is sitting on the couch crying and she questions him about lying to her. She confronts him about going behind her back and watching porn as she has gone through his browser history. John eventually admits and in a feeble attempt tries to reason with her that every guy watches porn. He questions her choice of watching her stupid movies, and she says that movies and porn are different things and that movies get awards. John retorts that porn gets awards too. Disappointed, Barbara tells him that she really liked him and thought he was different and leaves. John goes back to his habit of watching porn and pleasuring himself. He goes back to the bar and meets his friends and ends up finding a girl who his friend saw first and has a one-night stand with her. In road rage, John breaks the window of a car with his fist and later at church lies to his mother about it. It is evident that John is going in a downward spiral when he confesses his sins. Later, he lies to his family about his breakup with Barbara while his parents express their adoration for Barbara. John is watching porn when his friend Bobby comes to meet him. He questions him about what is going on with him and his recent road rage incident. John admits that the reason Barbara broke up with him was that she caught him looking at porn. Bobby tells him that it is a very stupid reason to walk out on somebody. He then asks him if he is going to finish his night class since he only went because of Barbara. John goes to his class and catches up to Esther to talk to her. They end up being intimate in her car. Esther lights up a joint and passes it to John and asks about Barbara. He tells her the reason and she tells him she doesn't believe it was. She tells him that he is addicted to it, which is why he can't break the habit. She addresses his issues with being intimate, which is why he can't go on a day without it or pleasuring himself. John tries to argue that he can quit at any time, but it's not like he is addicted to it. On the night of the next class, John grabs Esther before she can go in and starts kissing her. He suggests blowing off the class and they end up going to Esther's place. He admits to her that she was right about it. They sit on the couch and Esther asks if he ever watched the CD she gave him and he tells her he hasn't. Esther ends up deducing that he watches porn and series satisfaction out of it because it is a one-sided affair, and to have real intimacy he should be willing to let it all go with another person so that it can be a two-way street. She suggests that they take a bath together, runs the water, and leaves to bring towels. While grabbing towels from the closet, she breaks down crying. John takes the bath by himself and uses the towels in the bathroom to cover himself up. He comes back into the living room to find Esther sitting on the couch and Sion smoking a joint. He asks her about what happened and assumes it's a bad marriage situation, and she says it's not. She ends up telling him that her husband and her son passed away in a car accident 14 months ago. She massages his head, gently leading them to being intimate with one another. The next day, while driving, John is seen to be singing along to the radio playing in his car instead of being in a road rage as usual. He goes to the church and confesses his sins, as well as sheds a light on his recent experience with intimacy, which involved an emotional connection. Later at dinner with his family, he announces to his parents that he and Barbara have broken up. His father can't believe that he let her go, and his mother starts crying since she hoped she would have grandchildren soon. John's sister Monica speaks up and says that it's a good thing they broke up because Barbara always had her agenda because she just needed someone to boss around. She didn't care about John or knew him at an emotional level. John meets up with Barbara and apologizes to her for lying about things during their relationship. Barbara tells him that he is incapable of a relationship and she only asked for one thing and he failed. John ends up telling her that she asked a lot from him and he couldn't do it all for her. Barbara leaves, telling him not to contact her again. John meets up with his friends to have pizza with them and spend a good time. John narrates that he is in a better place with Esther and he hated eye contact but loves it when she looks right at him. He loves her, and not in the way where he wants to marry her, since he is growing as a person and she's grieving her loss. However, now their intimacy feels like they are connected. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it then please consider liking our video and subscribing to our channel. We will see you in the next one.